My name's Katie Ewers and I'm a professional careers advisor and life coach, and I'm here to talk to you today about being an architect, what you have to do to be an architect, what your responsibilities are, what qualifications you need, and the opportunity for you to look and see whether you as an individual fits being an architect, and will being an architect make you happy. Architect specialisms, I always start with a list of few of the architectural specialisms, so I may do videos on these architect specialisms, but as I always say, on request I can do videos. If you want me to do one on interior designer, please email me. If I haven't done one already, I will do a video for you on being an interior designer. So please email me or send me a message or put me a note in the description box if there's any particular career or specialism you'd like me to do a video on. More than happy to do that for you. So an architect. So architects, they use technical and creative skill, as you would imagine, to create and design structures, buildings that suit the requirements of their clients. So you'll design new buildings, like whole new buildings, or you may just build extensions on and alterations onto existing buildings. Advise on the restoration and conservation of old properties, which, if you're into that kind of thing, could be quite fascinating. So that's going to be thinking about how the old can be mixed with the new, because there's lots of new standards when it comes to building, insulation, what with climate change and new wiring regulations. So an old building would have to be fully checked for things that are old that need to be renewed. And an architect's going to be the one that's going to help do that, to show the people, okay, what needs to be modernised in this house for it to meet building regulations. So you may work on individual buildings or massive redevelopment sites where many houses are being built, or big office buildings. You could work for one client or whole companies. You have a range of clients. But you work closely with those clients, construction professionals, surveyors, engineers, to ensure that the designs match the requirements of the client, that they're functional and suit the client's requirements, of course, that they're safe for the client, and that they're going to be cost effective and economical to build and to run the building. They've got to consider many different things when they're going through the design and collaboration phase of buildings or extensions. So responsibilities. So you're going to be the specialist that advises on the types of materials to use in buildings. So that'll be anything that's up to the regulations, materials that work best in certain situations. So you need quite a knowledge of materials science. Not overly deep, but you do need a good knowledge of how different materials work together, their longevity, and especially how well they insulate, being climate change and all that. Assess the needs of the building and its users, advise on the practicality. Sometimes the designers or the people want buildings that are just totally impractical and are not going to work. And the architect's going to be the one that says, look, this is just not going to work in this configuration. That's going to be the architect that's going to do that. Carry out site visits to ensure that the project, when it's already started, is running on time and to budget. Collaborate on the site with ideas, objectives, requirement. Consult and negotiate with other professionals about the design and placement of the structure. Consider the impact on the local environment. That's an important one. You can get in a lot of trouble. It's not just the animals, it's how the building will affect other people in the general area, not just in the long term, but also in the short term when it comes to noise and rubble and disruption and danger, really, for the people that live in the vicinity. Create detailed drawings with measurements and specifications. So you need accuracy, you need a good ability in art, an ability to measure perfectly and have a steady hand. Create and deliver designs, feasibility reports to the client, whether their design is good, whether it's feasible, or whether changes need to be made, really. Keep within financial budgets and deadlines. That's really important, especially for the people that are funding. They're not going to like it if you go over the budget, or if you take 3 months or 6 months longer than you said you were going to do to get the building up and running. Prepare applications for planning to the local council, draw up tender documents for contracts, project manage, help to coordinate the work of other contractors, because there's so many people all doing different jobs when a building is being designed and built. You have to bring so many different contractors and so many different professionals together, and the architect needs to be able to bring people together and almost direct them all as to what they need to be doing and when. Resolve problems and issues that arise during construction, and of course use computer-aided design packages like the CAD packages and project management software. You'll be doing lots of drawings, and the CAD software will be useful for that. Skills needed, of course. No one wants to be an architect unless they've got a keen interest in buildings and the built environment. Otherwise, you're not going to be interested from the very beginning. So that's skill number one, really, an interest in buildings and the built environment. An excellent understanding of construction processes, vital to be an architect. Commercial awareness, business acumen, excellent design and drawing skills. I mean, that's a given, right? Accurate, good hand-eye coordination, ability to deal with numbers and measurements, excellent written and verbal skills, because you have to communicate a lot of people, communicate designs, communicate situations to them. So you need excellent written and verbal communication. That's a given. Good analytical skills, accuracy, attention to detail, because you get things wrong. The building could be dangerous. If you get the measurements wrong, you could end up ordering and cutting all the materials wrong and end up costing the project a lot of money because you've ruined materials because they haven't been properly measured or they haven't been properly purchased, So accuracy and attention to detail is vital to keep the structure safe, to keep it on budget, and to keep it, to the timescales that are needed for the client. Good organisational and negotiational skills. So negotiation, you often need to negotiate with the local government, often with the people that live in the local area as well. You need to be able to appease them because some of them aren't going to be happy to have big full-scale constructions in their area. You need to be able to appease and negotiate. IT skills, computer-aided design, CAD design skills. Knowledge of building information modelling, or BIM for short. Google that, it's worth knowing. Project management skills, being able to organise and give, and again, it's about keeping things to time and budget and making sure people are all doing what they should be and that everything's being done correctly. You're running it, really. Reasonable math skills. You don't have to have genius math skills. If you do a science job or engineering, you need better maths skills than you need for architecture. So don't worry, you don't have to be a genius mathematician to be an architect. Reasonable math skills works. Strong teamwork and leadership skills. Ability to think, imagine, create in 3 dimensions. So that's your picture smart. To be able to look at something in your mind, spin it round even in your mind and understand and think how it's going to look, what's going to do, and be able to do that in your imagination. I mean, that's not a skill that I possess, so I think that's amazing. Ability to collaborate with a wide range of other professionals, understand the relationship between people, buildings and the wider environment. Of course, there's a strong connection between the people, or the buildings and the people that use them and the wider environment that the building and the people are in. It's all interconnected, all interconnected, and everything is affected by everything else in a knock-on effect. And an architect needs to consider that. What it's like. You'll be office-based a lot of the time if you're an architect. You'll go out of the office to visit sites, visit clients. So, you won't be stuck in offices all the time, but you'll have an office space. You may have to travel quite a lot in a working day, being as you're going to sites and clients. You may have to visit 2 or 3 sites and clients a day, maybe more. Appropriate safety equipment, of course, must be worn on site. So you'll be expected to wear PPE equipment, which is vital, especially on a building site, When you're experienced, you could be self-employed. You could do freelance work, but, wait until you've got some experience under your belt. The Architects Registration Board, or the ARB, reports that in the UK, 29% are women. Now, we're getting there with architects. When it comes to, say, science and engineering, women are very, very represented. Architects, it's better, but as you can see, 29%, it could be better. Let's get these women into architecture and start closing that seems to be gender stereotypical gender gap that we seem to have in jobs. But the Architects Registration Board, ARB, may be a place to go and Google for more information on women coming into architecture. Your employers are going to be your private practices, employ salaried architects, central and local government, of course. They're very involved in things, building structures in their local environment, especially with their planning departments, getting planning permission and all the rigmarole that goes with that. Construction companies, definitely. Commercial and industrial organisations, retails, manufacturers, across the board. There's a lot of employment opportunities for architects. You can look for job vacancies at bdforjobs.com, buildingforjobs.com, careersinconstruction.com, that's a good one, careerstructure.com, and there's 3 recruitment agencies that are useful for architects looking for work, Andes Elite, Hayes Architecture, and justconstruction.net. Have a look at those if you are an architect or thinking of being one. Have a bit of a research at what sort of thing is going and whether it's something that you might want to think about doing. Salary. The starting salary for a graduate, it starts a bit low, but I suppose it depends on the organisation you're working for as well. But 15,000 is a fairly low starting salary, but it is between 15 and 22. 22 is more the average graduate salary. And that's when you're doing your part 1 training. Part 2 training, you can increase your salary from 23 up to about 35. So there is quite a big jump when you've done part 2 of your training. You're qualified at part 3. So a qualified part 3 architect, depending on their experience, of course, is going to earn anything between 32 to 35 for a low experienced architect, up to about 45, 46 for an experienced architect. Then for a senior associate, somebody that's trained even further and has even more experience, director level, you can earn up to 70,000, maybe even more, depending on the type of organisation you work for. Working hours are quite good. Typically you're 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, weekends off. But, I wouldn't say it was always 9 to 5. There are a lot of extra hours needed. You may need to be doing some extra evenings and weekends on an ad hoc basis when needed, when a project demands it, really. But, as a rule, you're normally Monday to Friday, 9 to 5-ish with, I would imagine, not many architects leave and go home at 5. They might stay late most nights. I guess it depends on their project and it depends on the work they're doing. Qualifications. So you need a degree to be an architect. So straight away we need those GCSEs. We need those grade 5s and above, at least in your maths and English. You need to do A-levels. So you need at least 5 GCSEs, grade 5 and above, including your maths and English, to do your A-levels to get into university. University A-levels that I think are the best for architecture are your art, or more specifically graphic design, or even product design A-levels will help give you the skills you need, and geography and history, because elements of those A-levels will be useful in your base knowledge, especially when it comes to geography and urban planning. You can also start to learn to be an apprenticeship. Now search this on Google, on a work-based RIBA studio route or apprenticeship. Have a look, see apprenticeships have been quite thin on the ground at times, especially for the more skilled jobs. But have a look, have a Google at the work-based RIBA studio or apprenticeships in architecture. They're few and far between, but I'm imagining they're going to get more and more. So I'm going to keep my ear to the ground on that one. You need to register with a statutory body, the Architects Registration Board, ARB, in order to legally use the title architect, I guess, so that they can make sure that you're keeping up your skills and that you're not doing things that will be dangerous. If you're building buildings that aren't strong, that aren't good, people could die. So it's really important that you're registered with a statutory body that can monitor and make sure your skills are still up to scratch. Then after that, there's further, it's not just degree level you need to study to masters. So we're going to 2 years of further study, full-time university or work-based, depending on your employer, resulting in a master's degree in architecture. So that's vital. Then 3 years professional experience. You can take take an examination in professional practice and management in the RIBA studio. And that's only open for people that have 3 years experience or more. And if you want chartered architect status, it's available through membership of RIBA. But actually, it's not a legal requirement to be registered with RIBA to practice as a chartered architect. Will you enjoy being an architect? Now, the motivators that I think most fit. Now, if you haven't looked at my self-discovery series, please do so. Otherwise, this page isn't going to have much, be much clear to you. So please look at my self-discovery series to help you learn a little bit more about you. So these are the results of, if you're going to be a happy, competent architect, it's important that you have some or even all or many of these attributes in order to be happy and enjoy your job. So the motivator, there are, I think, 4 different motivators that could fit being an architect. The creator, definitely. They're the designer. They've got to be artistic and creative. So first and foremost, the motivator is going to be the creator. The expert, architects are trained up to a master's level. So you might be motivated by being an expert. Therefore, that would be a good motivator for you to be an architect. The director, you've got to take control of a project from day one. You're there to manage and direct people. So that's a good motivator. And of course, the builder, because the builder is the one that wants material abundance, and the builder has the potential. It's the motivation, of a builder to gain material abundance and have a comfortable life. And that is possible when you're an architect. So they're the 4 motivators that I think link to being an architect the best. Then you've got your Myers-Briggs types, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's often 10 for each one. And I've analysed this in quite a lot of detail, that these 10 Myers-Briggs types are going to be the ones that fit being an architect the most. The ENTP, INTP, ENTJ, INTJ, ISFJ, ESTJ, ISTJ, ISFP, ESTP, ISTP. Notice there's a lot of thinking ones in there. When you're looking at the Myers-Briggs, if you know anything about Myers-Briggs, you've got the third one is the thinking or the feeling, the F or the T. And I've noticed that architects, that you need to be very objective to be an architect, because there's only 1, 2 out of those 10, only 2 of them have got a feeling part to their personality rather than a thinker. So architect, you need to be objective, you need to be task orientated. Your personality type shows you that. Gardner's 9 intelligences, your top smart's going to be picture smart, isn't it? The ability to spin 3D objects in space, in your mind, in your imagination, and transcribe that to what you're doing and design. That's called spatial intelligence, or picture smart for ease. You also need to be people smart, and you also need to be word smart, of course. You need to be smart in maths as well, but you don't need to be overly smart. You can be average in maths. But these are your top 3 intelligences to be an architect. For the Gallup Strengths Finder, as usual, there's quite a few, and I've put the ones in capitals that I think fit being an architect the most. You need to be able to arrange all the details and put them in a correct configuration. Absolutely key to being an architect, putting things in the right place and in the right configuration, organising people, things, ideas, even your drawings. Organise your drawings to the best configuration to make them most safe and effective. So arrange is a strong one. Analytical, of course, you have to analyse drawings, pictures, written work to see whether designs are feasible. Futuristic, very much so. If you're an architect, many architects are into the futuristic buildings. I know some architects are very much into bringing back restorative. So restorative's on that list. You might be a future thinking architect, or you might be an architect that likes to restore the old, or you could be both. So we've got futuristic and of course restorative on there. Deliberative, which means you're careful with risk. It's really important. You can't have a building falling on someone's head. So deliberative is a good one because they're always looking for the risk and they're always mitigating any danger. Discipline, keeping to the detail, the routine, the structure, and making sure no corners are cut. You can't cut corners when it comes to things like this. People's lives are at stake. Restorative, as I've said, woo, meeting new people and clients and meeting new companies. You're always meeting new people as an architect. Context. So what context is it's looking back at the past to help inform your future. Now, I think in a lot of ways it would be useful for the architect to look at the things, look at the plans and the ideals of the past to help them build good ideas for the future. So context is a good one for an architect. Communication, of course, for obvious reasons, and adaptability. You never know when you're going to need to change designs, change plans, or clients change their minds all the time, or suddenly you realise that the design you've been working on, it's just not going to work, and then you have to be flexible and adaptable and change all your plans. The Belbin team role, quite a few as usual. Plant, very creative, definitely. Belbin team role for plant for architect. Monitor evaluator, really good at checking and analysing the drawings, making sure they're safe, making sure nothing's been cut or missed or corners have been cut. Implement those plans. The architect is your archetypal implementer. They design it and then they implement that design, and they help others to implement that design. They might not be doing the actual work themselves, but they're directing the implementation of their design and the customer's requirements. And of course, completer finisher. So completer finisher makes sure that everything is done perfectly well. They're the polisher. They make sure everything's been followed to the letter, and they will be the one to make sure everything's been followed to the letter because people's lives depend on it. Again. So for the Belbin team roles, I would say the plant, the monitor evaluator, the implementer, and the completer finisher are the top ones. Other ones of them will be useful too, like teamwork, coordinator. But these are the top ones that I feel that would really fulfill if you were any one of those Belbin team roles. For Honey and Mumford, the pragmatist, definitely, because the pragmatist takes design ideas and implements them into reality. The architect is a pragmatist. They have to be. And of course, the theorist, they have to be able to look at a concept and an idea and understand it before they can even think about being pragmatic and applying it to the real world. So the top ones, I feel, the top Honey and Mumford types for an architect would be pragmatist and theorist. So if you haven't done these self-discovery quizzes and you're still unsure whether you would like being an architect, please go to my channel, look at my 6 videos, and the Myers-Briggs one, you may need to watch 2 videos, like watch the Myers-Briggs test and then watch them whatever type you are, which is only 5 minutes long, to help find out who you are. So look at some of these videos on motivators, Myers-Briggs, Gardner's Intelligences to help you figure out who you are as a person and whether being an architect fits you. But at the end of the day, guys, only you know. Don't let anyone else tell you what career to take. Only you know what career is best for you in your own heart. It's you that's got to do the work every day. It's you that's got to get up and do it. You need to be fulfilled in your work. You'll be so much happier if you get a job that fits you. And the only way to get a job that fits you is to understand yourself and make your own choices. Until next time, guys, see you soon.